Is it okay to buy yourself flowers? Now, of course, the first answer to the question is yes, right? You can buy yourself flowers. You can go dancing by yourself if you desire. But I feel like there's this resurgence of a lot of ideology that is a little worrisome to me. So, obviously I'm referring to the latest Miley Cyrus song, Flowers, which is kind of a revenge track, which in the Spanish world is kind of mirrored to a certain extent by Shakira's recent song. So I think it's interesting that there's obviously a lot of emotion present here, right? But I'm kind of confused or a little bit concerned about the direction that this is taking, because there's obviously hurt there. These are both women. On the one hand, Miley Cyrus, and on the other hand, Shakira. They've been offended by their partners, or their husband or partner or whatever it may be, and responds in a way that seems to be affirming womanhood. But I wonder if that's really the case. Is this the way that it should be affirmed? And is it even the true concept of womanhood that's being affirmed? And even a bigger question is this really love? And I would dare to say that I think there's some serious problems, because we all desire to love and be loved, right? And that's for all of us in every state of life, whether you're single or married or in a celibate state like myself, religious, vowed to chastity, and particularly, the celibate form of chastity, not marrying somebody. Whatever it may be, we're called to give of ourselves. And so what's kind of concerning to me is that there's this huge elevation of kind of a self-worship or a self-care, to the point of saying, I don't need anybody else. And I feel that doesn't respond to the human condition, right? And I think that it speaks to and underlines a deep loneliness that's there. Because if you've seen some of my other videos, and when I talk about loneliness and a sense of belonging, well, I think it's something that we all desire, right? And within a marriage, obviously there's a belonging to that marriage. And when that marriage breaks apart, well, it's a huge loss, and maybe our modern world is trying to tell us that it doesn't matter, that you're just in a series of relationships of more or less seriousness, and when one is over, thank you, next. That's just kind of all there is to it. And I think that this is profoundly mistaken and damaging to the dignity of all of us as human beings. And so what do we do? And I think that it's important first to acknowledge the pain and suffering and hurt of those who are in a difficult relationship, or who are getting over a difficult relationship. We want to accompany them. We want them to feel, to feel that they're not alone, right? And that we're willing to be with them and to encourage them, and sometimes just to listen. We don't always have to fix the situation, which for some of us might be harder than for others, to listen. So first off, to recognize those that are going through heartbreak, and those that are, feeling that loneliness. But then in a second moment, hopefully we can bring them in, and bring them into our communities, and help them to feel accompanied. And that we realize that there's a lot of different ways that we enter into relationship with others. And obviously there's more exclusive romantic relationships, but then there's also relationships of friendship, and there's relationships of family. And these are all important, and these can all help to build up that sense of belonging and help to overcome some of that heartbreak. And then third, I think we have to be careful about the way that we give our hearts, because we live with a very romantic concept of love, in the sense that it's all passion and very little reason. And that's simply not healthy, and it leads to a lot of bad places. I think that passion is obviously a very important element of love and something that we should try to encourage, especially within the context of a romantic love. But things have to come in the right times, right? And a lot of times there's a lot of passion dries up, and then I'm out of here. And maybe, some of us need to take things a little slower in the beginning. And, even though there's a lot of attraction and a lot of natural feelings, that we have our mind, that we have our reason accompany us a little bit more along the process. Because I think that can help to achieve more mature relationships where we're truly giving of ourselves. Because I think that it's important that in every relationship, I see how am I giving of myself. And if I'm wanting to enter into a long-term romantic relationship, and especially something as serious as marriage, well, then I'm checking to see that the other person kind of has that same concept. Don't let yourself get trapped in bad relationships. No, it's hard, and a lot of times it might surprise us. But if we really accompany ourselves with our reason, well, we would find that there are a lot of situations we are able to avoid. So that's my hope for you. Also might be good to reach out to a friend, a family member, somebody you trust who can give you a little bit of advice, who can even tell you a little bit about yourself, which might be important. One piece of advice that I like to always give young people is that if you're looking at somebody that you want to marry, listen very carefully to what your parents say. Because even though it might not always be, it's not always the best judgment, a lot of times it is. Because generally speaking, your parents are looking out for your good. And for each one of us, when we're kind of carried away with that romantic love, it might be hard to make good choices. So it's good to have somebody you trust, maybe even somebody who's a little bit harder on you, to help you see, is this really a relationship that it has promise for the long term and something that's going to make me feel fulfilled and really be realizing my potential as a human being. So that's my hope for you. God bless. Have a great day.